go! The next potential Bitcoin country just made a massive statement against the world's elites today. Despite the head of the 6 trillion ECB openly attacking these countries' recent Bitcoin announcement, it doesn't seem to be slowing down this $330 billion giant's adoption of Bitcoin. The country in Europe we're talking about today not only has a central bank governor publicly declaring that they're looking into buying Bitcoin, but also today the country removed all capital gains tax on Bitcoin if you hold it for more than 3 years. So what country are we talking about? We're talking about the Czech Republic. And what could this mean for the rest of the world? Before we jump into it, I want to bring up my legendary co-host who's always optimistic, Optimus Fields in the house, aka Opti. So I mean, this massive news coming out of the Czech Republic. Here is the Financial Times, aka the Fiat Times, which I think we've been finding out these last couple of days, according to Doge. Now we know who's funding all the legacy media. Apparently it's been the US government the entire time. I mean, it makes sense why the New York Times was attacking, so hell-bent on attacking Bitcoin all these years. Now we know that it was the US government funding the New York Times. Absolutely hilarious. Anyways, so what are we talking about today? Here's the headline from Financial Times. Czech central bank head wants it to buy billions of euros in Bitcoin. It goes on to say, the head of the Czech National Bank wants to plow billions of euros worth of the country's reserves into Bitcoin, a groundbreaking move that could make it the first Western central bank known to hold crypto assets. Couple things about the Czech Republic that you guys might not know. The first mining pool in Europe goes by the name of Brains, actually comes from the Czech Republic. The first hardware wallet company in the world, it's called...
Did I lose Nico? Looks like I lost Nico. Drop a 1 in the chat. Am I still here? 1 second. Let me check this. Okay. Well. All right. All right. Let me get this news story. Because Nico just dropped out on me. Okay. Wow. His internet is still absolutely wrecked. What a day. What a day. All right. Here we go. Let me see if I got this. Okay, pull this up for you guys. Sorry, we're doing this live. We're trying to take care of his internet. Good thing I have the news here for you guys. Though, moving forward, I might have to rebuild the show live for you. Okay, he's officially gone. Hopefully he pops back in. Here we go. Wow, what a day. What a day. All right. So as you, yeah, government shut it down. 1 lost Nico in the chat. All right. So recapping here for you guys. And I guess I'm going to have to build the show as we go because Nico had all the source material here. But hey, show goes on. You already know the deal. Here is the first story. Obviously, Nico was using the Financial Times, but this story made its rounds around the internet. First of all, we got this story where it starts out. Czech National Bank governor weighing in on Bitcoin being added to their reserves. Now, obviously, you just heard the beginning of it. Nico kind of just ramped down the beginning of it, but where he got cut off was essentially saying that the first mining pool, aka Brains, was created in the Czech Republic, and the first hardware wallet that was created was in the Czech Republic as well with Ledger. So this is looking like it's becoming a Bitcoin country. It's looking like it's becoming our safe haven over there. You got to love to see it. And so in response to this, I don't have the video right now because obviously I'm doing this on the fly and we didn't upload it. But in response to the Czech central bank governor talking about adding Bitcoin to their reserves, ECB's Christine Lagarde came out literally the day following and was like, hey, guys, I talked to the governor of the national bank, and I'm very confident that this isn't going to go through, that the Czech national bank, the Czech central bank, is not going to add Bitcoin to their reserves. And here's a headline from Reuters going, ECB's Lagarde slaps down Czech proposal for Bitcoin reserves. So it looks like, the $6 trillion attack from the ECB, the European Central Bank, and Christine Lagarde herself, they may be fighting back. And this is very interesting. So it looks like the Czech Republic is becoming a safe haven for Bitcoiners at large. And then just doubling down a little bit, we covered this, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It looks like, let me see, is Nico back? I think I heard him.
Czech Republic is what part did I cut out?
You cut out at Ledger, bro.
Oh, to the Trezor part?
Yeah, so I just covered a little bit of this.
Did we cover this article?
I didn't cover the article. I didn't have it up. So
let's go through it. Okay. So a couple things about the Czech Republic that people don't know. It's the first country with a first European country with the mining pool, and first European country with a hardware wallet, and that hardware wallet is Trezor. So it goes on to say the head of the Czech National Bank wants to plow billions of euros worth of the country's reserves into Bitcoin, a groundbreaking move that could make it the first Western central bank known to hold crypto assets. It goes on to say Governor Ales Mashil told the Financial Times that he would present a plan to the board to invest in Bitcoin as a way of diversifying the CNB's reserves at a meeting on Thursday. Should the board approve this, then the CNB could eventually hold as much as 5%, $140 billion of reserves in Bitcoin. So absolutely massive for the Czech Republic, really leading the pack. Goes on to say, while acknowledging Bitcoin's extreme volatility and limited record, it goes on to say, highlighted wider investor interest in Bitcoin since BlackRock and other companies last year launched since the launch of Bitcoin ETFs. He also pointed to the U.S. President Donald Trump's pledges on deregulation and the growing influence of cryptocurrency executives over his administration. Now, moving on to the next part, where I think Czech Republic is really leading the pack as well. Czech President Petr Pavel signs law to remove capital gains tax on Bitcoin after 3 years of hodling. So, I mean, it is Trezor. It is Trezor for anyone who's confused in the chat. But I mean, this is huge. This is absolutely massive coming out of the Czech Republic. Them really, really leading the pack as it relates to Bitcoin. And, these capital gains laws are more favorable than the United States. Like, we have to put it bluntly. You would think that the United States would kind of lead the pack on all this stuff, but it seems like the Czech Republic is really leading the charge. So anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, well, I honestly think that this is so much bigger for adoption than people really are realizing. Yes, of course, we got the IMF news in El Salvador, and that seemed kind of like a daunting thing that happened. It seemed kind of like a step backward. But I think eliminating capital gains is like the biggest thing that can happen for Bitcoin and Bitcoiners around the world. And I think the game theory playing out right now is absolutely huge. Obviously, we're having a lot of talks in the US around a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But personally, I would love to see this happen in the US. To me, this would make the adoption of Bitcoin that much easier. All the obstacles around Bitcoin would fall by the wayside. It would make people want to use Bitcoin more, even though Bitcoin is being used currently for payments. I think this would be a huge forward-thinking step for the adoption of Bitcoin. Obviously, I think a lot of countries are kind of hesitant to do something similar of this. Obviously, they want to get those taxes in regards to your Bitcoin. But I think that this little step here from the Czech Republic, which if I'm remembering, and I guess I could fact check this, I think the Czech Republic is one of the biggest economies in the world, in the European Union. I think it's the seventh, if I'm remembering correctly. Don't Don't quote me on that one, but it's one of the bigger economies in the European Union, and for them to kind of allow the hodl, to eliminate the hodl tax on Bitcoin, I think this is absolutely huge, and we're going to see, I think, more countries follow suit on this. Obviously, I think we've seen something similar, not necessarily in regards to Bitcoin, but like Singapore, is it Dubai, Nico, that they don't have any capital gains tax, and we've seen what that's done for their country. Obviously, they're more city states than actual like a full nation, so there's different considerations here. But I think this is huge, and like we've been saying for a while, that the dominoes that follow, the ripple effects that will follow this happening. Obviously, there's probably going to be a delay here because you won't actually see like a overnight improvement for the Czech Republic. But I think this is absolutely a huge step forward, and I want to see more countries follow suit, especially Western countries, because of course I'm in America. I'm an American. I want to see our government follow suit on this. I think that would be absolutely major. Trump gets a lot of bad raps. He's very divisive. But if he eliminates capital gains on Bitcoin, I don't care what you guys say. He is goated. He is the best president since George Washington on just that little thing. Personally, that's how I would look on this, because that would proliferate Bitcoin around the world, or rather more in the US, and people would start using Bitcoin. It would be akin to using the dollar, and I think that would be huge. So this is a first huge step. I'm very hyped for the Czech Republic. It's starting to look, Nico, you've been joking for a little bit about us having to move to El Salvador. Now I'm like, hey, maybe the Czech Republic doesn't look that bad as a place for us Bitcoiners to move. So shouts out to BTC Prague, all the Bitcoiners in Prague and the Czech Republic. This is huge. I think this is a visionary president here to pass this law. I'm super excited for the Czech Republic and really the dominoes that are going to follow afterwards, hopefully sooner than later. But man, the US, if they really want to stay ahead, and what do they say? They want to become the crypto capital of the world. If they take this step, then I think that would ensure. But they're starting to become number 3 here. We have El Salvador as legal tender, though they kind of pulled that back. Now we have the Czech Republic and of course like Singapore, etc., around the world that have eliminated capital gains. So man, I want to see this happen everywhere. If this happens, it's game over. Bitcoin's going to win. People are going to use Bitcoin. People are going to start to see that Bitcoin is a better, not only store of value, but medium exchange, etc. Like, this is how Bitcoin wins. Now people are more incentivized to actually adopt Bitcoin because they don't have the economic and financial hurdles that scare people away. There's still a lot of people that are scared to use Bitcoin because of laws like this, even though a lot of Bitcoiners don't really care. I think this is huge. I'm super, super excited for the Czech Republic. I think this president is very, very much forward-looking, a visionary at this point, and I'm excited to see what happens there. This is absolutely awesome.
100%. And it's not only the president, right? It's also the central bank of the Czech Republic looking at Bitcoin, and they're saying, hey, you know what? Holy cow. We could put Bitcoin on our balance sheet as an alternative, right? So, and again, that country has a history of the first hardware wallet company in the world comes from the Czech Republic, Trezor. The first, one of the only, Bitcoin mining pools in Europe, Brains, comes from the Czech Republic. It's a very well-known mining pool. So this is a history. This is a country that has a very long history with Bitcoin. One of the best Bitcoin conferences of the year, BTC Prague, is in the Czech Republic. And now it seems like their government is really leading the charge over there and saying, you know what? You're actually incentivized to hodl. You're incentivized to hodl. You're incentivized to hodl your Bitcoin for at least 3 years. Look at that. It's like a government is actually doing what's good for its people. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Is that even possible? Right? So very positive news coming out of the Czech Republic. And this kind of goes into the better flag theory that we've talked a lot about on Simply Bitcoin. When nation states and governments create a more favorable tax regulation or a more favorable business regulation, as an individual, right? And Simply is all remote. This entire company is entirely remote. Opti's in another city. I'm in another city. Like, we can just get up and go where we're treated best, right? That's the awesome part of, about becoming a sovereign individual, taking Bitcoin into self-custody. You can vote with your feet. if things get bad, right? And that's one of the most powerful things that Bitcoin gives you, the ability to vote with your feet if you don't like your jurisdiction. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to everybody watching us live right now. I want to give a shout out to the YouTube audience. I want to give a shout out to the Rumble audience. And I do want to give a shout out, of course, to the X audience as well. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. You guys are listening to Simply Bitcoin Live. Anyways, guys, we have a ton of news for you guys today. We have a jam-packed show. We have Senator Cynthia Lummis, the Bitcoin senator, unpacking the things that were happening during Operation Chokepoint 2.0. We're going to play you guys those clips. And during the news segment, we have Lyn Alden making 3 predictions for Bitcoin in 2025. So it's going to be a jam-packed show, guys. Stay tuned. Before we jump into it, I do want to give a shout out, of course, to our lead sponsor, BitcoinWell.com. This is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on-chain or via Lightning Network in Canada and the USA. What makes Bitcoin Well different is that it's a completely non-custodial platform, meaning as soon as you buy Bitcoin and the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, empowering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. To get started, you put in your email address here. Takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. For higher net worth individuals, check out the Bitcoin Well Infinite product. It's for people that are looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, and they're tired of dealing with the terrible Coinbase UI or support emails that take years for them to get back to you, and you want an actual human being that you can call or text every time you want to buy Bitcoin. You have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Also, if you're an American, you can now get paid in Bitcoin sent directly to your personal Bitcoin wallet. Share your Bitcoin Well direct deposit details with your employer, set your Bitcoin/dollar split, and receive sats instead of fiat with every paycheck. What are you waiting for? Go to bitcoinwell.com today to get started. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video/podcast description. All right, everybody, let's get to numbers. We have tons to talk about today. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water. They put a blowtorch to it. And as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. All right, everybody, scan the QR code right now. Go to stampseed.com, use promo code SIMPLY, get 15% off anything on the store, and stamp your seed on titanium. Don't write it down on paper. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 96,880, block height 882,580, sats per dollar 1,032, market cap 1.9 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.62%, percentage issued 94.38%, decline from all-time high negative 11.2%, realized monetary inflation 1.02%. Anyways, guys, we've been talking to you guys about Operation Chokepoint 2.0. In fact, we were one of the only channels that was covering it almost on a day-to-day basis. You guys saw me and Opti go from a position of, oh no, they just don't know any better, to like straight up saying vote for Trump because these guys, the Biden administration is trying to stop the industry. But we did give them the benefit of the doubt for the longest time. And it seems like what Elon is doing with Doge and discovering a lot of corruption and fraud, it seems like something very similar is happening in regards to Operation Chokepoint 2.0, in regards to the FDIC, in regards to the Federal Reserve. It looks like they purposely targeted the industry. It looks like they purposely debanked certain individuals. Like, who would have thought? And by the way, this is the same people that are begging you to trust them with the central bank digital currency. That sounds like a horrible, horrible idea. So quick refresher before we jump into the Cynthia Lummis clip. Here is Nick Carter. He says, Senator Lummis says she has been contacted by FDIC whistleblowers regarding Operation Chokepoint 2.0, demands preservation of all materials, including those relating to Silvergate and Signature Bank shutdowns, threatens criminal referrals if destruction of records is unearthed. Gloves are off. And I actually had an interview with Senator Lummis. You guys could check it at the Simply Bitcoin channel, the Twitter account, the YouTube account, the Rumble account, the podcast. The podcast episode actually comes out on Saturday. But essentially, I asked her, like, what's going on there? There's members of the FDIC that are shredding documents. They're trying to cover their tracks in regards to Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Listen, if you have nothing to hide, if you colored within the lines, if you didn't do anything illegal, why are you shredding documents? Like, that is crazy. This is crazy. This is absolute mania what happened these last 4 years in regards to the Bitcoin industry. I don't want to talk about all the other political stuff. But anyways, here is Senator Cynthia Lummis and some updates in regards to what happened during Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Here's Senator Lummis, and I don't know what is going on here. I apologize. Wait, what is happening? Let me refresh.
Just scroll down. Just scroll down.
I know, but I have a giant black box on my screen. Okay. Today, Banking GOP discovered the first indisputable evidence of Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Rest assured, the subcommittee on digital assets will find these responsible and hold them accountable. Now, here's a clip of Senator Cynthia Lummis on Legacy Media talking about it. Let's check it out.
Well, certainly the bank supervision component of the Fed was telling bank examiners that you could assess risk based on beliefs, whether a bank president had conversations that were expressed that were controversial. And that's in memos that we discovered at the Fed. So these were federal regulators, unelected bureaucrats going after bank customers, choosing who could have a bank account, who couldn't, which businesses were going to have to go out of business because these little bank examiners didn't like the business. So we know the government was part of it. We need to find out further whether the banks themselves were part of it or whether the debanking was actually directed by the executive branch of our government. And then we need to decide whether we need to be able to get FOIA to get Freedom of Information Act access to the Fed, whether we need to have certain new people at the Federal Division on Bank Supervision that are confirmed by the Senate. What we do know is there is inadequate oversight of the bank supervision.
So, I mean, like, what world do we live in where you get debanked based on your political opinions? Like, this is not supposed to happen in a modern representative democracy. This is not supposed to happen. This is like some tyrannical level government type of stuff. And honestly, them shredding documents, what Elon is discovering with Doge, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And now it kind of explains the hostility that the previous administration had towards the industry, the hostility that the previous administration had towards the latest election. It explains why the legacy media acted the way they did. I see someone in the comments talking about what is Operation Chokepoint 2.0. So that is a term that was coined by Nick Carter, and it's something actually that we picked up on Simply in the beginning. To give us credit, we picked up on Simply very early on in 2024, and essentially what we started to notice is it's almost as if our industry was being targeted by elements of the federal government. So Caitlin Long's bank that was trying to get a federal banking charter, and she was going to be one of the first Bitcoin/crypto native banks. Her banking charter was denied, even though her bank was a fully reserved bank. Like, it checked all the boxes. The debanking of a lot of Bitcoin and crypto companies in the United States. And now it's came out that Signature Bank was purposely sabotaged and shut down because it banked the Bitcoin/crypto industry. The proposed 30% Bitcoin mining tax, the arrest of the Tornado Cash developers, which set a precedent that essentially a legal precedent that the US government can sanction open source software, and the US government can arrest open source developers if criminals use their software, which is a crazy precedent. That's like as if, look, you created a software, someone decided to use it as a crime, but you, the software developer, are the one responsible or are held responsible for that. Like, that's absurd. And of course, that set the precedent. And then about a month after the arrest of the Tornado Cash developers was the arrest of the Samurai developers, essentially saying that privacy is illegal. And both those mixing services, if you look at the numbers, the vast majority of people that use Samurai and use Tornado Cash were not using it for illicit means. It was only a small percentage of people that were using it for criminal activity. But I think that they targeted the industry because essentially what they wanted to do was they wanted to create a monopoly for a central bank digital currency. They didn't want a central bank digital currency to have any competition, especially competition from the free market. And that's what Operation Chokepoint 2.0 was all about. It was an attempt to isolate the Bitcoin industry from the traditional financial system. Because the moment that the traditional financial system, or TradFi, started getting exposure to Bitcoin and started benefiting from number go up technology, it was going to be a lot harder for the government to come in and say, hey, you know what? This Bitcoin thing is bad. Like, so essentially the US government tried to step in and basically destroy the industry within the United States. And now we're starting to uncover what really happened. And if you connect this with all the other things that were happening around the same time, the debanking of individuals based on their political ideas. So it wasn't just the targeting of the Bitcoin and crypto industry, it was targeting people based on their political beliefs. And then also the censorship of information that was revealed as soon as Elon bought X and the Twitter files came out, like where it was confirmed that the US government was essentially asking social media companies to censor on its behalf. Like, that is not supposed to happen with the First Amendment. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law, abridging the speech of Americans, something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing. And then, of course, against the Fourth Amendment, which is no unreasonable searches and seizures. So this is absurd. This is crazy. And I'm telling you, we're only 16 days into this administration. What they're going to discover, what Elon is going to continue discovering with Doge, and what Senator Lummis is going to continue to discover with what really happened with Operation Chokepoint 2.0, I think is going to completely shock Americans. I think you're going to see what was happening. You're like, holy cow. Like, they tried to sabotage the industry. They tried to destroy Bitcoin. They tried to destroy crypto. And I think the whole motivation behind all of this was it was because governments fundamentally want to retain their privilege and their power of being able to essentially create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And essentially, the way that you should see the fiat system, because it's a system based on theft, the money is literally designed to lose purchasing power over time. It requires coercion in order for people to use it, in order for people to use it. So coercion means you have to censor people questioning the system. Coercion means you have to shut down alternatives to the primary system that is based on theft. If you have an incentive-based system, which is Bitcoin, it actually doesn't require any type of coercion. It's all incentives. Who wouldn't want to use money that is designed to increase in purchasing power forever? That sounds like a great idea, where governments essentially have to coerce you into using a system where your purchasing power is designed to go down forever. Like, it's very obvious what happened. And I think the things that Elon and Senator Lummis are going to uncover is going to be more than a smoking gun. And it's going to prove what we were saying for the longest time. But I think the silver lining here, before I pass it on to Opti, is the silver lining is I don't think Bitcoiners would have gotten political. I don't think our industry would have thrown our hat in the political ring if we weren't forced to. And I think as soon as the Samurai Wallet developers were arrested, you guys saw how much we changed on this channel. I went from giving Opti a hard time for saying the word Trump derangement syndrome to, like, as soon as I heard that the Samurai Wallet developers were arrested, I was like, Trump 2024. I was like, RFK 2024. If we have just stood still and Kamala would have gotten elected, our industry would still be under attack. Ross would still be in prison. There's a high likelihood that we probably would have had to move to El Salvador, at least. Like, things were getting dark. And, you know, what tends to happen is a president or administration on their second term tends to not care as much as their first term because they know they don't have to get reelected again, right? So it would have been really, really, really bad. And I think that now that we're in the room, because this is something about politics and DC that a lot of you guys have to understand. If you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. Now, Bitcoiners in the Bitcoin industry are now part of the donor class in Washington, DC. We're part of the donor class. We're there. We have a presence there. So our voice, they don't have a choice but to hear our voice. This is why you see the Trump administration talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is why in the executive order, it specifically said that his administration will protect the right to run a node, protect the right to self-custody, and is looking into Bitcoin. This is why it all happened. It didn't happen because Trump just all of a sudden found Satoshi and he was like, oh, this is a great idea. It happened because Bitcoiners helped him get elected. That's what happened, right? So hopefully what I hope should happen over the next couple of years is essentially Bitcoin becomes so popular that regardless of political party, it is unviable for you to be against Bitcoin and hope that you're going to get reelected. I hope that's the direction it goes to. I'll see what happens. So far, there's an element of the Democratic Party, and we have to be honest here, not the entire Democratic Party. There's Senator Gillibrand and there's Congressman Ro Khanna. So it's not monolithic, but there's an element of the Democratic Party, the Elizabeth Warren camp, that needs to be voted out because they are inherently anti-Bitcoin. They're inherently anti our industry because what they want, and it's not for the betterment of the American people, it's for the betterment of themselves. What they want is a continuation of the fiat system, which is a central bank digital currency. That's what they want. And as soon as Bitcoin, as long as Bitcoin exists and people can use Bitcoin, no one is going to adopt a central bank digital currency without being coerced into adopting it. So anyhow, positive news from Senator Cynthia Lummis, the Bitcoin senator. She's absolutely killing it. She's doing a great job. And we're going to cover it for you guys. So stay tuned to Simply Bitcoin. We're going to cover what really happened during Operation Chokepoint 2.0, because I suspect if they're shredding documents, if they're trying to bury evidence, I suspect there's a lot of things that they did last year that wasn't exactly legal. Because if it was legal, then why are they shredding documents? Why are they trying to cover the evidence? Why are they trying to cover their tracks? It doesn't make sense. Anyways, Opti, what's your take?
Personally, hold on. Excuse me. Personally, I'm not surprised by any of this stuff. This to me seems like standard policies by corrupt politicians. But hey, I'm the conspiracy theorist here. But it is good to, well, even though they're trying to destroy the paper trail, I think it has been good to uncover the paper trail for at least as best as we can throughout this whole journey, because 2024, it did seem for a while that we were kind of in the dark about what was actually going on, and now it's become very clear what was actually going on. And now the fact that they're trying to cover their tracks, I think, makes them even more guilty as far as I'm concerned. So am I surprised? No, not at all. But one interesting thing that did come out yesterday, or maybe this morning, is that it was actually yesterday. Sorry. It was that now the FDIC is looking over their quote unquote crypto guidelines so that banks can custody Bitcoin and other, shit coins and stuff. So it is very interesting now that because of a new administration, they're seemingly changing their tune on a dime here. So on the one hand, we all know that Operation Chokepoint 2.0 was trying to do their best to hamper the adoption of Bitcoin. They're trying to destroy records on this, shouts out to Senator Lummis for continuing to kind of make noise around that. And now it seems that they are trying to do their best to ensure that banks can custody Bitcoin. So it is very interesting how I don't know what the right words here would be, but how fickle their stances are on everything how quickly they change their tunes when the winds start to change. And it's becoming very obvious that Bitcoin is becoming a priority for the Trump administration. Obviously, they've been saying for a while that they're kind of looking at Bitcoin as a second Wall Street. And we all know, Trump loves Wall Street. Trump's, a real estate guy. So he wants to see Wall Street pump. He wants to see Bitcoin pump. And in the face of all this stuff, considering what's been going on the last couple of days, it is very interesting to see the institutions start to crumble and change their tune. So, hey, I'm all for this. Obviously, I want individuals to be able to use Bitcoin without these obstacles and this red tape. And on that front, though, it is becoming very obvious that now, as Nico likes to say, we're in the room. Like, politics has landed on our door. And I'm actually going to kind of cover a Pierre Rochard article on the culture today, because I felt like I was a little negative yesterday. So we're gonna flip yesterday's culture a little bit and talk about where we are right now, the importance. So shout out to Pierre, because as much as Bitcoin is censorship resistant and the meme Bitcoin is for enemies, we don't need to make enemies for no reason. And here we are. They're obviously coming after us. I think it's been very obvious that they will come after us, and they're going to come after us because, hey, if they lose control of the fiat system and people start to move in Bitcoin, then they're really losing their power. And obviously, they're going to do whatever they can to hamper that adoption of Bitcoin. And did anyone think that this was going to be easy? Obviously, we want to play this out for as long as possible, or rather the adoption into the Bitcoin system. We want it to be as non-violent as possible, but as we know, the people in power aren't going to give up that power easily. And so the fact that we have this data, or at least had this data at this point, I think just goes to show that the powers that be are terrified of Bitcoin. So, to do with that information as you will, personally, that just makes me more hyped about Bitcoin, more on point, and realizing that, yes, like everything we say about Bitcoin and the fiat system is true. And for the people that are still asleep at the wheel, well, look, We have a lot of data points here, and you can call us crazy. You can call us, just some YouTubers on some YouTuber Bitcoiners. But hey, the data is there if you really want to look into it. But at this point, a lot of people don't actually want to look into the facts. It's all about their feelings and the narratives that they've conjured up around Bitcoin. But hey, that just means we'll just keep building and keep doing what we do, and Bitcoin will continue to rise in price. And hey, man, we've tried, and we will continue to try to get people on Bitcoin. But if you don't want to look at the data and reevaluate, what was they saying? Reevaluate your monetary theories, man. We'll be here for you when you're ready.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, guys, stay tuned. We have a clip of Lyn Alden making 3 predictions for 2025 during the news segment. We're going to talk about that. And then, like Opti was saying, during the culture segment, he has an article by the one and only Pierre Rochard. I actually had an interview with him the other week. We're going to be dropping that Simply Bitcoin IRL on Saturday. So I hope you guys enjoy that conversation. Anyways, guys, we are going to hit the news. We will be right
I want to
back.
give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet design with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind.
All right, everybody, this is Opti, Simply Bitcoin's favorite e-girl. And right now, he is showing the Passport by Foundation devices hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. You want to take self-custody. And here at Simply Bitcoin, we recommend Passport by Foundation. If you use promo code SIMPLY, you get a small discount. And this is one of the perfect hardware wallets to give to somebody that perhaps is a little bit intimidated by self-custody. So get yours today. Check out the link in the video description / podcast description, or scan the QR code on your screen. All right, everybody, let's jump into today's news. We have lots to talk about. We are only Lyn Alden. Lyn Alden is the author of Broken Money, a history of how currency has transformed from a better instrument with various freedom benefits into a tool of electronic control. So Lyn Alden is an absolute legend, and she recently had an interview on the Legacy Media, and let's check it out, and then me and Opti will have a discussion about it.
Lyn, you lay out 3 reasons that people should be considering investing in Bitcoin this year. Break them down for us.
So one of them is the fact that Bitcoin's network effect remains very strong. So when you look at Bitcoin dominance, the percentage of the total cryptocurrency ecosystem that Bitcoin represents, that's been on the rise lately. It's very strong. There's millions of cryptocurrencies now, and Bitcoin is well over half of the entire space, especially when you strip out stable coins, which are basically just dollars trading on crypto rails. So Bitcoin dominance is looking very healthy. When you look at various kind of on-chain indicators of euphoria, so for example, market value versus on-chain cost basis in aggregate, it doesn't look like prior cycle tops yet. It doesn't mean that market structure might not change or cycles might not change, but in general, we don't see some of the warning signs that we normally see at major cycle tops like 2021, 2017 and that type of thing. And then also we're finally seeing a lot more interest from corporations. So in the prior cycle, MicroStrategy was the main corporation that added Bitcoin to its treasury as a treasury reserve asset. And we didn't really see a lot of movement after that, despite the fact that MicroStrategy was advocating for it and holding conferences for it. But as you've seen better accounting, and as you've seen a full cycle of strong performance from MicroStrategy, this seems to be the cycle where actually we are getting more and more corporate announcements. And so I expect that trend to probably continue for a while longer. I think all these trends are pretty bullish for Bitcoin specifically.
So Lyn Alden absolutely breaking it down, talking about Bitcoin dominance and continuing to rise. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's Big Daddy Bitcoin continuing to lead the pack. I think obviously we're a Bitcoin only show. We're a Bitcoin maxi show. So you guys know our stance on this. We are libertarians. So if you want to buy, what's the latest altcoin, Opti? That's a thing. If you want to buy Trump coin, that's all you. We highly recommend against it. You will probably wreck yourself. But if you want to do that with your money and buy Poopa coin, that's all up to you, my friend. But Bitcoin dominance continues to rise. I think people are realizing, of course, that Bitcoin is the only true king. The institutional adoption, MicroStrategy, which rebranded to Strategy, continues to lead the pack. Michael Saylor's company outcompeted every other the big seven tech stocks. MicroStrategy outperformed them by a wide margin. Of course, the institutional adoption, Selmer Scientific, what Dylan LeClaire and Metaplanet are doing as well. Looks like the Bitcoin strategy continues to prove itself. And of course, on the nation state level, you have many US states where there's active legislation of them looking into making a Bitcoin strategic reserve on the state level. And of course, Cynthia Lummis really moving this initiative forward on the federal level with the US Bitcoin strategic reserve. We played you a clip of David Sachs, the so-called crypto czar appointed by the Trump administration. And he said that the Trump administration is currently looking into establishing a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve. So incredibly bullish things happening for Bitcoin. I think this year is going to be absolutely explosive. I think we're consolidating a little bit at these levels. We're chop-solidating. We're going sideways. But it's always a good reminder for everyone. Guys, we were at $60,000 6 months ago. And I think we were at $108,000 not too long ago. So tons of movement, 50% essentially as of late. And I think Bitcoin's best days are ahead of it from my perspective. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying Simply Bitcoin Live, help us break 200 likes within the first hour of the show. We're already at 185 likes on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying the show on Rumble, smash the like button. And the same thing, if you guys are enjoying the show on X, smash the like button. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on Lyn Alden and her perspectives on legacy media?
Yeah, well, honestly, I thought that this could have been probably a good enough title or topic for the whole show, because I know a lot of people out there, maybe it's new entrants or maybe it's just Bitcoiners that we still have like PTSD from the last cycle. But I've been seeing a lot of Bitcoiners saying, and even in the chat, someone in the chat yesterday was saying that Bitcoin's only gone to like 120K this year. And to me, that just seems ridiculous. With all of the information we've been kind of uncovering, or rather just kind of been getting pushed out, it's like a floodgate's been opened up about bullish information around Bitcoin. Remember the report yesterday by Kathy Wood's ARK? So many indicators to me are showing that this bull run hasn't even started yet. And the fact we are seeing Bitcoin kind of consolidate in that 100K range right now, I think that is such a strong signal, considering what we're seeing happen in like the gold markets and the Fed repo markets and the, Dixie charts on NASDAQ. Like, every indicator, and obviously I'm biased here, so you can take this with a grain of salt. I'm obviously biased for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the best way to hold your wealth, and so I'm seeing a lot of things right now play out where I think Bitcoin is still going to have an incredible run by the end of the year. And as someone that's been in the Bitcoin space for a while, I think this is my 8th year now or something like that. Bitcoin makes its runs in very short time spans. And I think at a certain point, we will be seeing something similar play out. Or I'm kind of been leaning towards this slow progression of Bitcoin just kind of boring us, where it goes sideways, consolidates for a little bit, then it makes another move up, does something similar for a few months. And it kind of just does this like stairway move on the charts, just continuing to go up and to the right. But all these things are showing me that I think a few things are playing out. One, obviously, we're seeing a lot of institutional capital come into Bitcoin, and not too many of the capital inflows are going into the shitcoin ETFs. And I don't really hear too many institutional capital managers talking about anything else besides Bitcoin. And again, what we're seeing in the global macro markets right now is that there is a lot of uncertainty, and the best use case for money is to hedge against uncertainty. And we're seeing that people are starting to catch on to this idea that Bitcoin will, maybe if you're being bullish and you're a Bitcoiner, will become the world reserve currency, or at the very least is the best performing asset in the last 15 years. It's a great store of value. And when you're in the face of looking at all this uncertainty, you want to put your capital in something that you know is going to go up and to the right, which is of course Bitcoin. But I'm not really hearing a lot of talk about other altcoins. Yes, there's like the meme coin rage right now. And when you look at kind of the Bitcoin dominance chart, and obviously this can change on the fly, it looks like the education levels of new entrants coming into Bitcoin are side skirting all of the altcoin madness. And they're starting to look at Bitcoin as basically the safest bet in the whole quote unquote crypto market. It is Bitcoin, and then it's everything else. And everything else is just, a software to steal your Bitcoin, or rather a pump and dump or marketing scheme to take your Bitcoin. And so all of these things. And then of course, the nation states talking about Bitcoin. Like today we had Czech Republic, their central bank is talking about adding Bitcoin to their reserves. Obviously, I'm not the hugest fan of this, but hey, on the flip side, they just eliminated capital gains. So all of this conversation that I'm seeing is looking like, and I hate using it, the smart money is starting to look at Bitcoin as the viable solution to the world's problems. And that just means we're all kind of ahead of the game. And even though we're kind of already living in the future, remember the Joe Rogan, I don't think we actually played it on this show, Nico, but Joe Rogan said, there was a clip of him a couple of weeks ago, him saying that like the Bitcoin, super coders or the super Bitcoin chads, or I forget what he was saying, that we're already living in the future. And there's still a delay of people understanding what is going on. Even the people that do understand what's going on in the fiat system, they still have a hard time wrapping their heads around Bitcoin. All of that PhD Nobel laureate winner, economic winner, who is like, man, why is this Bitcoin thing going up? If it does work how I think it shouldn't work, that means we're going to have to reevaluate our monetary theories about everything. And we're like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. There is a new form of money, or some people could just say, transparent distributed ledger, whatever semantic you want to use. But there is something new. There's a new technology that is taking over the world. It's been put into hyperdrive because it's on top of the internet. We live in a digital world. So everything to me is just showing that this bull run isn't over. I don't even think it's actually really even started, even though we went from 60K to about 100K in a very short time period. I think it's going to run. And once it actually breaks 100K to the upside, because it seems to be consolidating really good around this 190K. And no matter what happens in the world macroeconomic landscape, Bitcoin, may take a little dump, but it responds very quickly. And all of this is just showing me personally just how healthy the Bitcoin network actually is. It's very resilient as a network, and also it's the most saleable liquid good 24/7, all of the Bitcoin fundamentals. So all of this stuff is just showing me that once Bitcoin does start running, it's going to be a massive, massive run. And, I'm here for it. Like, nothing is telling me right now that this Bitcoin bull run is over. And obviously, Lyn Alden has a much better pedigree than me. She's been covering macro markets for a long time. I basically learned about all the macro markets through Bitcoin. So, yes, I'm biased here. But as someone like Lyn Alden coming in and being like, this bull run isn't over. Like, there's 3 things that I can directly prove to show you that it isn't over. I'm like, man, how could you be sitting on the sidelines? I think every single one of us needs to be stacking more Bitcoin, considering that things are getting kind of crazy right now. You know, as bullish as we are, we also have to be pragmatic and realistic of where we are in the world economy. And there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the world. There's a lot of economic trade wars going on in the world. There's a lot of, you know, things that should be concerning you if you are trying to hold on to your wealth. And it's just very simple to hold Bitcoin, and people seem to kind of relegate it and be like, no, like that's like, you know, hey kid, especially us, you know, like we're not old, we're in our 30s. They're like, yeah, okay, kid, you know, stick around longer and maybe you'll learn some things about how the world works. And we're like, all right, bro, like if you say so. You know, I think winning and having your wealth increase over time is a sign of understanding reality and what's working. But hey, you know, you guys can just say that we're idiot kids, but we'll just keep stacking, and, you know, the Bitcoin price will go up, and hey, you know, maybe your assets will get devalued at the same time. So, you know, I'm very, very willing to put it all on the line, and, you know, winner takes all in this economic game, this zero-sum game that is money. And I'm like, all right, man, you know, if the boat goes down, at least I tried. And, you know, we tried to effectuate change. So I don't know, man, I'm super bullish for this year. It's really 1 month into the year. I think by historically around like October-ish, November, we should be seeing some kind of top here. So, you know, buckle up, man. I think we got to lower our time preference. Have some patience here. Patience is a virtue. Bitcoin price is going up.
Enjoy the journey, enjoy the hodling journey, and just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. All right, everybody, let's get to culture. We have tons to talk about. We'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech, or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin sponsor, BitBlockBoom. It's going to be one of the best Bitcoin conferences of the year, Dallas, Texas, April 3rd through the 6th. Get your tickets quickly before the prices go up in 24 days. The entire Simply Bitcoin crew is going to be there. It's going to be a great time. You guys definitely don't want to miss BitBlockBoom 2025, the year of the parabola, the year after the halving. Historically, this is the best year that Bitcoin performs, even though the beginning of the year has been quite lackluster, to say the least. Anyways, Opti, what are we going to talk? You're bullish, bro?
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, before I get into this article,
I think everyone was expecting 120K Bitcoin by now, bro.
I know,
what's going on? What's going on, Opti?
I know, but that's, as we know, Bitcoin does the exact opposite of what everyone believes it's going to do. And I think it holding at 100K, like I just said, I think this is super bullish. I think this is a good stepping stone for where the end of the year will be. So, you know, hey, a little bit of patience. Obviously, we all want the price to run, but also I think it's in a good position. I think the network is very healthy. The price action is very healthy. Anyways, off topic. So yesterday, you know, I did my whole stablecoin thing, and when I got off the show, I was feeling like I was pessimistic fields on the show a little bit. And then this article dropped by Pierre Rochard, who's literally the GOAT. I wouldn't be here without Pierre Rochard and Bitstein originally with their podcast. I'm blanking. I think it's Noted podcast they did in around 2018, 2019. Then, of course, the Nakamoto Institute, where all of you guys should go to read some of the best Bitcoin write-ups. And anyways, Pierre Rochard back. Now he's at Riot. I still believe he's at Riot. Anyways, he dropped this article here, and I think it really, really kind of boils down all of the things Nico and I have been saying on the show in regards to Bitcoin and Bitcoin kind of growing up and politics kind of landing on our door and kind of keeping our heads on a swivel, looking at all the attack vectors. But also, I see a lot of people in the chat usually saying like, we don't need politicians, like bring on the fight, boys, like let's get it over with. And I think that's kind of a premature, maybe even a naive perspective. And Pierre Rochard does a great article here. Again, it's on Bitcoin Magazine. He goes, Bitcoin's core remains unbreakable. Why surviving hostility doesn't mean we should court it, and how proactive engagement secures a better future. Sounds exactly how Nico says it, just a little more eloquent. So I'm not going to read the whole article. I'll actually here, look, I'll drop this in the chat for you guys if you guys want to read the whole article, but I will read some of the bulk of it because it really does kind of lay out the whole thesis, and then Nico and I will kind of chat about it. So Bitcoin has forged to be unstoppable in an hostile environment, but let's be perfectly clear. Surviving and thriving are two different things. Just because Bitcoin can withstand severe political antagonism doesn't mean we should want that antagonism, nor does it mean we shouldn't do everything possible to foster a favorable environment that accelerates adoption. Believing otherwise is a misreading of the core ethos. The brilliance of Bitcoin is that it remains permissionless and decentralized no matter who fights it. But that doesn't preclude us from working to ensure we have the most beneficial conditions for its long-term success. In fact, public policy responses to regulatory and legislative inquiries have consistently reaffirmed these basics. Bitcoin's strength is open source software, self-custody, and a wide distribution of mining and node operators. In other words, it's not about selling out. It's about ensuring our governments understand the benefits of Bitcoin's open design. There's a difference between, quote, Bitcoin was built for a hostile environment, and, quote, we should want a hostile environment. Having an adversary-resistant architecture doesn't demand that we sit back and ignore opportunities to reduce friction, whether in energy policy or everyday user experience. Yes, Bitcoin can and will survive if politicians and regulators turn hostile, but it's short-sighted to treat hostility as a virtue. Hostility might slow adoption, push development offshore, or scare away everyday users who aren't ready for that level of conflict. Meanwhile, measured engagement with policymakers can prevent draconian bans, shape balanced regulation, and offer legitimate pathways for institutional capital to flow in, all of which we can speed up global usage of Bitcoin. It's not a betrayal of Satoshi's vision to say we'd like Bitcoin to flourish under transparent, fair laws. We want people to choose Bitcoin, not be forced into it by some catastrophic breakdown of the legacy system. There is nothing un-Bitcoin about encouraging legislation that protects individuals' rights to use and hold their own Bitcoin, or that supports open source development. We should be unapologetically active in these political arenas because ignoring them won't make them go away. It would only allow others, perhaps with very different agendas, to set the rules in ways that hamper privacy, hamper self-custody, or hamper innovation, and the key is remaining vigilant against compromises that undermines the protocol's integrity. So I'm going to just leave it at that. But after yesterday's show, I was kind of thinking, you know, I did my culture bit on kind of being vigilant on stable coins. We kind of went back and forth. Nico and I have been talking about this on our show for a while, that, you know, hashtag everyone in the chat, hashtag Optigate, you know, never forget. But when you see that politics lands on our door, when you see that regulators are attacking Bitcoin, it's not selling out the ethos of Bitcoins to engage with them. I think it would be a beneficial thing if we essentially did get some regulatory clarity, or rather let them get out of our way instead of fighting us. And considering we're kind of talking about Operation Chokepoint 2.0 and also the Czech Republic news of eliminating capital gains tax, I think you can, if you're honest and sober about this reflection, it is a good thing to have a president pass a law that eliminates capital gains tax, or, you know, ensure that self-custodying of Bitcoin isn't outlawed, or ensure that mining companies can actually mine in your country instead of moving it out offshore or out of your country, or ensuring that Bitcoin wallet creators and companies aren't being scared out of the US. Like, I think all of this engagement with these politicians, even though I'm not the biggest fan of politicians and regulators, is a good thing. And like Pierre was saying, this is not selling out the ethos of Bitcoin. Yes, I understand everyone in the chat's like, you know, Bitcoin doesn't need politicians. Bitcoin doesn't need Trump. It's going to do what it does anyways. And I agree with you, but I would much rather live in a you know, a society that isn't fighting us at every turn. And like we've been covering with the Operation Chokepoint 2.0 news, we have actively been attacked constantly. And now we're seeing that as the wind changes, obviously we're going to see some people that are opportunists that are trying to come into the space. They're trying to scam users. They're trying to maybe put some backdoors in these regulations. But I think it's very important for us to reach out, communicate with them, or rather maybe just be loud to every single one of you guys. And as a cohesive Bitcoin army, we are loud and we're fighting the narratives and we're pushing back and we're educating each other that, hey, maybe some of this stuff isn't good. Maybe some of this stuff is kind of, a backdoor way, sly roundabout way to control Bitcoin. And I think it's very important for us to stay vigilant, but also like relish in the wins that we do have. I think there's a lot of positive things going on in Bitcoin. There are some things that are concerning to me, but also I think this was the inevitable battle, the inevitable the inevitable information war that we were going to have to go through to educate everyone in the world. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have, like Dennis Porter go out there and start to politic the politicians. Like, I don't think it's bad for us to communicate with these people and hopefully educate them and be like, hey, look, this is what Bitcoin means. These are the Bitcoin ethos. Like, get on board, or, you're not going to be able to stop this. Like, one thing that Pierre said there that I think I was kind of trying to say yesterday, and I didn't really have the words yet, was I don't want to wait until there is a astronomical apocalyptic financial struggle for people to get on Bitcoin. I'm not trying to scare people away from Bitcoin. I just want people to start saving in Bitcoin. And as they save in Bitcoin, like happened to Nico and I, they will start to learn about Bitcoin. They will start to kind of be absorbed by the Bitcoin ethos. And I think it's very good for us to at least open this communication instead of being, naive, autistic children on the internet and attacking everyone that isn't 100%, passing the Bitcoin purity test. I think it's very important for us to kind of reach out an olive branch. And, as much as I'm a toxic Bitcoin maximalist here, I understand how long it took me to become a Bitcoiner. So I think this is just part of that process. And shout out to Pierre. Go read the whole article because there is some good kickers at the end of it. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that because yesterday I got off the show and I'm like, man, I feel like I was kind of a doomer yesterday. I feel like kind of a doomer in the culture, but like, I don't want to say we're winning. I don't want to say that, quote, we've won past tense, but things are moving in our direction. I think it's very important, everything going on right now, to kind of, not be naive and not be pessimistic about this stuff and not be like, hey man, like we're selling out our ethos. I don't think that's the case. Anyways, I've ranted enough. Nico, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the way that you have to view it is, this is the separation of money and state. Like, this is, Bitcoiners are their influence is inevitably going to get, their net worths are going to get bigger. This is an inevitability. This is going to happen regardless. And as our net worths continue to get bigger, what do you think is going to happen? Like, we're going to have more and more influence in society. It's inevitable. Like that's what happens. So I think Bitcoiners have been playing in the shadows for a very long time. And Bitcoin has been in the shadows for a very long time. But I think we all have to remember that, Bitcoin has grown up now. We're heading into a new era in Bitcoin's history. When you hear strategic Bitcoin reserves, when you hear state level Bitcoin reserves, when you have Wall Street that's interested in Bitcoin, and do you want to be winners or do you want to be losers? Right? Like, one of the things that I kept hearing was this whole idea of the plebs and the plebs and the plebs, and it's that word pleb comes from the word plebeian, which is essentially the common man in Roman society. And there's nothing wrong with being the common man, but if you hold Bitcoin right now, or if you hold 1 Bitcoin, you're in that privileged class. Or if you hold half a Bitcoin, or if you hold 0.1 Bitcoin, like you are in an elite group of people. You have to understand that. And if we are right about Bitcoin becoming the global reserve currency, Bitcoiners are going to be the most influential and wealthiest people on the face of the planet. And by being the wealthiest people on the face of the planet, the most influential people on the face of the planet, you are more than likely going to have the ability to influence society. That's just the way things are, right? That's the way that human history has operated since the beginning of human history. And, I think the world's going to be a much better place for it if Bitcoiners are, the wealthy class, like essentially. And I think it was actually Meester that was essentially going down this rabbit hole. But essentially, like, if you look at how much ultra high net worth individuals exist, and ultra high net worth individuals defined as someone who holds $30 million worth of Bitcoin, or $30 million or more, that you're considered an ultra high net worth individual. There's only I think 250,000 people that fit into that category. If Bitcoin hits like $1 million per coin, or like $2 million per coin, $3 million per coin, what percentage of the ultra high net worth population is going to be Bitcoiners? It's going to be a significant percent. It's going to be 20, 30, 40%, 10%, 15%. Those are the people that rule the world. Those are the people that run the biggest companies. They employ the most amount of people. They donate the most amount of money to politics. If Bitcoiners are now representing 20% of the world's wealthy elite, of course they're going to have influence on politics. And we're already seeing this. With the election of Trump, Bitcoiners essentially said, listen, Trump, we'll get you elected, but you need a free Ross. That's power. That's influence. Like, did you think that happened because Trump just found Satoshi? No, he wanted to get elected, and he needed Bitcoiners in order to get elected. He needed their money. He needed their votes. So as our industry continues to grow, as the market cap continues to grow, as the hodlers continue to get wealthier and wealthier, like, there is an inevitable point in which the political discussion starts to become more and more predominant. It's inevitable. Let's say you buy a citadel in the middle of nowhere, and there's certain regulations that affect your ability to live in a sovereign fashion. You're either going to do two things. You're going to get involved in the local politics and donate to the right people, or get the right party in power so that they can leave your citadel alone, or you're going to go to another favorable jurisdiction. And that favorable jurisdiction is going to compete to try to get you, right? That's what happened with El Salvador. El Salvador had one of the best marketing campaigns in world history. They went from being looked at as one of like the backwaters of Central and Latin America to being this up and coming country where the rule of law and safety is held above everything else. And they have a Bitcoin reserve, and you can use Bitcoin as a currency. And they have this president who's the most favorable and liked president of Latin America. Like, what's stopping other countries from following suit? So I think like this is something that I think everyone has to understand. And I think that Bitcoiners inherently are mistrusting of politics, and they're mistrusting of the system. And I think their heart's in the right place. The argument that I'm trying to make is I think Bitcoiners are going to inherit the world. I really think so. I think when Bitcoin is as $10 million per coin, like even people that own 1 or 2 Bitcoin, they're going to be extremely wealthy, right? And like, what do wealthy people do? Wealthy people try to, influence society, whether for the worse or for the better. But I would rather have, 20 to 30, 40% of the wealthy population of the world be Bitcoiners, because at least I know their ethos. At least I know what they're trying to get, what they want out of life. At least I know what they're trying to do, right? So I don't think anyone should shy away from politics. Like, I think that politics is here. You can choose to be an ostrich and bury your head in the sand and pretend none of this stuff is happening around you. But if you choose not to care about politics, you're destined to be ruled over by people that do care about politics, and those people might not exactly agree with you. If we did nothing and just shut up, Ross would not be free right now. I remember I was getting so much, like poo-poo from people on X when I was like, listen, we have to support Trump. The other option is terrible for our industry. And so many people are like, voting doesn't matter. The system's rigged. He's going to scam you. He's going to whatever. And I'll say, listen, maybe Trump would have scammed me. Maybe, I would have gotten rug pulled on Ross being freed. Maybe Operation Chokepoint 2.0 was going to continue. But at least I know I tried. And if we want to win this, it requires moral courage, and it requires you to do the right thing, even if it doesn't always turn out your way. I think expecting to succeed every time is naive. You're inevitably going to fail. The people you're going to support are inevitably going to let you down. That's inevitable. But I mean, look at what we got for I would say a half-hearted effort. Look at what we got. Operation Chokepoint 2.0 is no more. It's being uncovered. We had literally an executive order for the protection of self-custody, the protection of the right to mine, the protection of the individual to run a node. What else did we get? We got the repeal of SAB 121. We got the freedom of Ross Ulbricht. Now, was it perfect? No. I believe that this cycle is going to be a shitcoin extravaganza, the likes of which we've never seen before. So, it's not all positive, but you can say we got a lot of wins. We got a lot of wins. We got a lot of W's, because the opposite would have been a catastrophe. Operation Chokepoint 3.0. It would have been more, right? So I think that's something that I think a lot of you guys, a lot of our audience members needs to start getting used to, because this isn't going away. And the midterms are coming around in 2026, and we're going to be talking about the midterms, and we're going to be literally try to get congressmen and congresswomen on the show to talk about it and try to make the case for you guys, because make no mistake, I think the end goal of every Bitcoiner should be to end central banking. And the way that you end central banking is by opting out, number one, taking self-custody, but also generating enough political support, also moving the Overton window enough where you have enough political willpower in order to pass a law that says we are ending central banking. It sounds unbelievable. If I would have told you we would have freed Ross 5 years ago with that thinking of negativity, nothing is possible, the system is broken beyond repair, then Ross wouldn't be freed. We fought. We could have lost. We could have been rugged. We could have been lied to, but we fought and we won, right? That's what it requires. It requires moral courage. It requires you to do the right thing despite the uncertainty. That's how you win, right? And make no mistake, this is the ultimate fight for the freedom of humanity, which is freeing humanity from the tyranny of central banking so that people could get on with their lives and earn in a money that doesn't steal from them, so that they can keep their energy and their work and their time, and decency is returned to the younger generations, where they actually have the ability to buy a home and plan for the future. That's what we're fighting for. What type of world do you want the future generations to live in? That's the question I have for you guys. So yes, I mean, I think we've been proven so right, Opti. Initially, I was kind of feeling guilty about talking about Trump and whatever. But after Ross being freed, nah, I don't feel guilty at all. We told you so. We told you so. So yeah, man, that's my take on all that. Anyways, guys.
Wait, Nico, before you go, we did get a few super chats. So let's get some shout outs. 5 Minute Bitcoin sent us $2. Really appreciate you. But he did follow it up with a comment and he goes, love you guys. Keep up the great work. And then we got one more here, and I don't know what this is. 30 ILS. Apologies, I don't know what that is, but really appreciate the super chat. And he goes, Culture, have you seen the Prog Metal Satoshi music video, RIP Scardust? We watch you every day. I have not, but I will check it out. Maybe Rustin has. I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, appreciate the super chats, guys. It means a lot to us. We love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Absolutely. Guys, today is February 6, 2025. I'm your host, Nico. Is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. If you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. We love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.